My name's Patrick Husting, so I appreciate your time today.
Mm-hmm.
8 years ago, actually, just a little over 8 years ago, I started a company called Extended Results, and I was focused on the business intelligence space. Really kind of focused on consulting services, so trying to help executives get more out of their data.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of those experiences come from working at Microsoft. I was an employee for a few years, and I used to provide data up into the leadership, like Bill Gates and Ballmer and their leadership really around the world. And so a lot of those experiences I have of trying to get information to these guys that are running a multi-billion-dollar business is really came out in the software and services. And so I started Extended Results 8 years ago because I truly believed we were doing analytics or reporting wrong, and I based that up upon reporting analytics has essentially been done the same for 20 years or more, and that is there's a lot of beeping going on. So there's a bunch of data sources out there, and we give them a tool to mash up their data, and we allow them to find their own insights. And the neat thing about providing this data to these men was really they use data differently than a lot of folks do, and so it allowed me to glean some very important insights.
Okay.
So I started the company 8 years ago, and that was along the lines of consulting services. So we were trying to get better insights for people or companies out of their data. But about 5 years ago, I reached this point in my company where we're doing really great on consulting services, but I'm a software junkie. I'm a developer at heart, and I like creating things. And so I had this option of taking my consulting dollar profits and opening another office somewhere, or I could be crazy and just say, hey, I'm just going to invest it in building my own software. And I, being a software guy, that's the route I took. And based on this is I made millions and millions of dollars in consulting services, creating dashboards and reports and data warehouses for companies and executives that no one ever looked at. And it wasn't because the reports were inaccurate or wrong. It was really, nobody looked at them because, first of all, they couldn't find it, or it's just a lot of steps to get to it. And, name your flavor of favorite self-serve BI tool, but it's essentially browse to the portal and click a bunch of tabs and then try to find the one report out of several hundred that are in that folder, and then filter it, and then scroll down and over, and there's a little bite of information that you care about, and then repeat that 8 or 10 times, because there's a series of metrics that you're looking for, so you can get a pulse on the business. And that happened because we didn't create one report, we created 10 of those reports, because one person needed data, so we created that, and then it was a copy of a copy of a copy for other folks because they looked at it different or wanted to look at it different. So essentially we dumbed down all the reports, and we dumbed them down so much nobody looked at them. We made more work for them is what I'm trying to say. And so when I went back and I interviewed all these folks and really looked at how they're running their businesses, global business, from really small business on, they looked at their business different than you would just looking at a report. So hence, recently, in September, TIBCO came along. They recognized the need for this kind of different way of providing data to executives and decision makers, or really anybody within the organization, truly BI for everybody. And they ended up buying my company because of a solution that we had, and it's now called Mobile Metrics. So the best way to describe it, after I told you, and jump in because I just tend to ramble. The best way to describe Mobile Metrics and what is it, and it is against some of the latest, innovations that are going on today. And the best way to look at it is these personal BI gadgets, And so if you look at Fitbit or Nike Fuel, you put on the device, and you can whip out your phone, and it immediately tells you your activity level for the day.
Right.
And I've been using Fitbit for several months now. I've lost a lot of weight just because I was realizing I was sitting on my bum all day. And so it's a very powerful psychological tool, you know, personalized business intelligence, right? Personalized fitness intelligence. And so, that's essentially what mobile metrics is. And especially if you look at like CNBC, when you're talking to people that are running the businesses, whether it's the CEO down to the director of blah blah, you know, they're not scouring through reports. They actually dread it. And you can ask any of them. But there was one thing they had in common when I was doing all these interviews with my previous customers, is they're all turning on the cable, financial shows. So CNBC or Bloomberg or Fox Business. But you can turn on that channel and you wait about 15 to 30. So you turn it on, you wait 15 to 30 seconds, you know what's going on in the worldwide financial markets. I love that. And why can't my business be like that? And so that was, that's mobile metrics. Our goal is to make it, a very personalized experience. And the devices enable that now, right? Your smartphone, your tablet, to your desktop. We support this ability, if you will, to have CNBC for your business, readily available, in the palm of your hand. And so I started that venture 5 years ago. About a year ago, November, we finally started to sell a lot of licenses. It seemed like the first 3.5 years, the mobile BI companies are out there. It felt like a lot of hype, but it was also, I funded the company. I used my own savings and my profits and reinvested in the company and companies. So I didn't have a lot of money for marketing. But finally, people started to get my message. It was less about taking all these dashboards, if you will, no matter what BI vendor are, and you know how you squish them down and they try to make it fit on a phone or a tablet?
Right.
That's absolutely wrong. And then about a year ago, Gartner wrote this, mobile BI update, and they started talking about personalized BI. And I've been talking about personalized BI for 8 years, or using personal BI, in my terminology. And it seemed like they borrowed a lot of content from the website and wrote their article. And then we started getting calls from all the big software companies saying, this is, you're spot on. This is where we need to be in 2 to 3 years. And it's not a dashboard on a phone. It's, if you will, it's like a stock ticker.
Interesting.
So what we did, you've been in data for a while. So you remember about 7-8 years ago, we were all about scorecards and KPIs.
Yes.
We're all right back to it. And the reason I say that is because 80%, it's the 80-20 rule, and it totally applies here. 80% of the metrics in an organization are known, they're operational, they're focused on the strategy. So the self-serve BI space, when I read the analyst numbers on how big the space is, I freak out, because I'm just like going, really? There's that many people mashing up their own data? And if they were doing it at my company, I'd be yelling at them, because I want them working, not trying to find their own insights. They need to be focused on the strategy of the company, not chasing a rabbit down a hole. So, I'm back to score. I used to do a lot of scorecarding at Microsoft for those guys. So anyway, KPIs are important, right? We know their data sources, we know the calculations, we know the refresh rate, the security, their governance. They're trusted. Right? KPIs are totally important, because we agree that this is how we measure our business for success. And so, but KPIs have behaviors, right? They're favorites. I can follow them. They're actionable.
Right.
They have thresholds. I love thresholds, right? That's your pain tolerance. So is this trending bad? How much pain will you take?
Right.
They're also social. They're movers. They're aware. KPIs are just smart. And so if we could go back to KPIs, if you will, and it's the vast majority of what's available. Like at Microsoft, they have scorecard pages, dashboard pages, with hundreds of metrics on those pages, just in this big long line that nobody looks at, because it's just a giant blur. So they have it, they're just implemented incorrectly. And that's, every major corporation on the planet.
Sure.
So with mobile metrics, because I was using my money, every dollar of my investment has to be very strategic and well thought out of how we're going to use it. And so early on, when I started this endeavor, and I'm very performance oriented. Going back to the personal fitness stuff, turn it on, and you know that you've been sitting all day. You need to get up out of your chair. You know, the devices had to be the same way. So my goal, again, I said, no way am I building a dashboard designing tool for the iPhone. What I wanted to do was build this, turn it on, see what's important right now, but support all the devices. That's really truly bring your own device, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not an iPhone world. My wife is telling me go grocery shopping. Sorry. Yeah, you gotta love that. So people are using iPhone. They're using Androids.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of customers just because I'm close to Microsoft, but there is a lot of people using Windows Phone.
Mm-hmm.
There is a lot of Windows 8 going on right now. And so to be able to support an experience when you're standing in a Starbucks line and a number's red, but you can get back to your desktop and have the same rough experience, that's important.
Mm-hmm.
And so we decided to support all the devices, but first and foremost, you had to be able to turn it on and see what was important at that moment. So, I try to talk about it on the left hand here with some bullet points here, but simple, quick, and effective. The goal of my solution, and in all, this is a ding against all BI solutions. When you deploy a BI solution today, the number one thing that everybody forgets when they deploy a BI solution is the training budget. And if and all the dashboard, you have to train people on how to interpret
Yes.
the
Oh,
reports.
absolutely. Sure.
Isn't that sad? And so in our solution, you don't do that. You can do training if you want, but in theory, the way we design the solution, you should be able to turn it on without any training and figure out that, oh my gosh, these are red. I better drill into this, see what's going on, and participate. So, our goal is to redeploy any training budgets. So, the best way I put this lady here, because, what is it, what it's not, because you hear me talk about it. So, what it's not is, I'm not a data discovery tool. So
Okay.
I'm not going to compete against the Spotfire platform or Tableau or ClickView or Microsoft Excel, where you can mash out some data and find your own insights. That was never my goal. In my solution, you don't actually create any dashboards. So you don't design for an Android device, tablet or phone, or for the iPhone. You don't need a development team. And so it's really not self-serve, where you're trying to find your own insights. What it is what we are, a new class of BI that it just shocks me that it's missing. And that's we're a business monitoring tool. So if you will, we sit above all the different BI tools that are out there today, and we allow you to monitor your business by exception. So instead of remembering to go to your report portal to look at a report and reacting to the data that's 2 weeks old in it, remember, we're reacting. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to turn you into a proactive monster, that we're alerting you that these are trending off and that you need to take action now, not a week from now with poor data. And that's missing. So that CNBC stock ticker, the pulse of your business, that's what we are. So because we're KPI oriented, we have thresholds and alerts and things like that, color coded. We built in social inside it. So if you will, it's Twitter, but the people that have access to that metric at that slice based on their security can comment on what's going on with that number. So we put the thread, the social thread, behind it, so you can see somebody's working on it. Today, or in the past, and today for lots of organizations, when they finally look at the report, they go in the email and they'll send Jake an email saying, hey, what's going on with this number? And once you put it in the email, you lost that knowledge. You lost that communications, because there's 10 other people that have access to that metric that need to know what's going on. And so what we did is we moved that collaboration around that business strategy and metric. We moved that right into that. And I'll show it in the app here shortly.
Okay.
And then we make other dashboards more discoverable. And so this is really fascinating. Now that we've been, selling and using the tool for several years, and we sit above those other BI tools, when a project takes place, you have your metric, sales revenue. But we also show you all these kind of related actions you can do against sales revenue. So maybe you'll click over to a sales revenue report that has detail, or you'll click over to like salesforce.com and look at the pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
Those are actions you take with the number. So based on that, we make those other reports more discoverable. And it's really fascinating. Some of the comments I get back from existing customers today is, I didn't even know that we had these reports available in our organization until they were tied with the metric. So I'm serious about this. Is really, I want to get it down to a point of you turn it on, you know what's going on in your business now. And that's why I ended up selling TIBCO, because TIBCO, Vivek, the founder of it, he truly believes, data's in motion and it's real time, and you can't store and retrieve fast enough, in the systems today. Information's flowing in a pipe in real time.
Yes.
And so I believe we need to get our businesses to that standpoint and participate with that. So I'm gonna flip. I have Windows 8 today.
Okay.
So I'm gonna show my app. Let me know if you see it.
I do.
Okay, great. So here we are in Windows 8, and you can see I have a bunch of tiles here. So when I bring it up, so I don't really care how many tiles, or metrics you have access to. Most CFOs and large enterprises can have access over to 1,000 metrics, and I want to send 1,000 metrics to your device. But I have the ability to filter it. So I can say red, show me all the red metrics, and immediately I know the metrics I better get onto right now.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that's the way it should be. And it's the same on the phones and the tablets. And that's important, right? These are movers in my organization. In our Windows 8 app, we have a concept of movers. And I'll show you, based on all the metrics you have access to, I'll show you the top 5, bottom 5 trending metrics that you should be aware of. Just like in the stock market, they tell you that too. We tell you in your business. It allows you to group and organize and get the things better, faster. So in the columns here, if you will, these are just folders or categories of metrics. So if I go into like sales metrics, oh, that's a bad one. Let me find one with some comments on it.
Okay.
And that one's a bad one. Thought I had one with. I don't have any with comments. I'm a bad demoer today.
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all.
So
I see comments now right there.
Yeah, okay. So what happens, and I think you will appreciate this, when a number is red, the first thing in your mind is, what's going on? I know what's going on there. No, you don't. Because you're a busy executive, you don't even remember the KPI. So you tell a story. Remember that with scorecards? You tell a story with the metric. And so we allow them to drill in. We show them a simple trend chart. You can make it a bar chart. Neat thing is I can turn on the thresholds behind it. So I can tell you how that number is performing over time. That reminds you of the number. Most executives, their smarts are in their gut. And so once we remind them a little bit of the number with a simple trend chart, then they look to the right here and they see, Peter and I have a conversation going. So really, anybody that has access to this number can comment on what's going on. And it's been fascinating. Now we've had our solution out there for several years. We see people, the number one source of comments into the solution, if you will, they're annotations. They come in via the mobile phone. And I think being in the BI space for so long, remember all the annotation stuff that was written in the web pages and the apps that nobody ever used?
Right.
Actually, the mobile phone's the best place for it because we're so used to texting. So these messages are coming in from anywhere, because we become truly mobile. So I can read what's going on. I can click the plus. I can participate in the discussion. I can leave a message that, I'm working on it, or there's a blizzard on the East Coast. That's why sales are down. Over on the right-hand side, I have a set of related links. These are actions I can do with the metric. So within a click, I can click and I can bring up an existing report that I might have that relates to that metric. So I'm bringing in some analyze expense spend here. So this is neat. So I don't throw away any of the reports in an organization. I just relate them to the metric, make them actually discoverable, that if anybody wants to drill into the details, they're one touch away from it.
Interesting. Is there a special way of tagging the report to the metric?
No, we kind of force the customers to go get organized, so they have to do kind of an assessment of all the metrics that, or all the reports that they have, what metrics are on them, and then relating them. So in our solution, if you will, it's just a set of URLs that you're going to link to that KPI. In the background, like a future feature, when you instrument a Spotfire report, like this total spend by supplier, total spend would be a metric. When you publish this report, it'll automatically get associated with our KPIs. But if you had it authored in like Cognos as an example, you would have to manually do that relationship. But this is neat. And what we found, there's less than a 3% chance anybody actually looks at the detailed report. And that is because they see the thread, the communication going on, and they know how to react, and they're typically talking to some. We're seeing more use in their daily report systems, but the way the system is, we allow them to get back to business fairly quick. So you can see within just a few minutes, not even a few minutes, within a few seconds, I can take you from, this is red, to studying the trend, to reading the conversation, to an actionable click. And maybe I took you to salesforce.com so you could look at the pipeline as an example, all within a matter of less than 30 seconds that something was off in your business. You cannot do that with a self-serve BI tool today. That's what we're in a category. That's why I had to sell. I either took a lot of money from VCs to build the marketing and the messaging for global, or I go to the right software company who can deliver the solution globally, because we are truly in what I believe an area that doesn't exist today. Making your business real time.
It's really very interesting, and I mean, I like the demo, and I congratulate you with the demo. I think was really quite good. I will not worry about you being a bad demoer at all, just because you can find comments. And I actually, I haven't had time to play with the demo version, but I did pull it up. I did pull it up on my Android, and I did.
You have to play around with it there.
Pull it up on my iPad, and so I'll.
Yeah, so on the phones, we have a thin client that wraps an HTML5 interface because people tend to lose their phones more often.
Uh-huh.
And so, on the phone, it tends to be live data. And on the tablets, you can go offline, so you can download the data, go sit on an airplane for 3 hours, going somewhere.
That
Type
was a
up your
question I was going to ask. Yeah.
Yeah, so you can go offline. You could type in comments and do whatever you're going to do, or you have the ability in these metrics to save them as favorites. So if I go back to the app here, if I can save this as a favorite, and then most people, as you remember from the KPI days, we like KPIs because typically we monitor about 7 metrics a month as decision makers. We have access to 1,000, but we only really track about 7.
Right.
So we allow you to follow the metrics that are important to you. We have the ability to do filters and things like that. What else is kind of neat on Windows 8 is, if you see my Windows 8 desktop,
Yeah,
I have the ability to pin my metrics. You can see them right here in this third column. I can pin those to my start screen, which is really fascinating. We have a company, they use Windows 8, and they pinned all the metrics to their start screen. They only bring up our app when something's red, like you see here, Ohio, or the mystery shopper metric. And so, these will automatically refresh when your data refreshes. That's a really interesting behavior. So as they start their day, at work, the metrics that they're following, is right there on their desktop. So again, in the app, you have the ability to follow metrics in there, which is important, because you can have access. So anyway, so on the iPad and Android and Windows, you can go offline, and when you get a connection again, all that information will sync up and down so that you always have the latest. We are moving the iPhone first. The iPhone first is going to be going to an offline mode here shortly too. So we'll be able to cover all those scenarios. The neatest thing, we got lots of customers today. One of my favorites is trucking company out of the Chicago area,
Hmm.
and they've been in business, I think, like 40 years or 45 years. It was family owned, and so the second generation is running it today. And in logistics, as you know, that's a very heavy data intensive environment, but they're
Mhm.
truckers, right? And so they're moving goods across the US and put them in warehouses and stuff like that. So he had reams of reports, if you will. He basically threw them all out and runs his business off his iPad now
Wow.
using our app. I mean, he saw our app over a year ago, and he came to our office. He was so much fun, and we helped him completely relook at the way he runs his business. I see his comments in his system. He showed me how he communicates with his different warehouse managers in different locations, and it's right there embedded behind a metric. It's fascinating. It's a neat kind of business social experience behind these metrics that are so important to people. And it's reduced his overall IT budget because he outsources IT. So these KPIs,
Hmm.
what's neat about our solution, it's bad for consulting, but it's great for like license sales. But
Sure.
we write these metrics once in the solution, and then based on your security in the system, you see a certain subset of data. So we have one place to author. If you got an update to do, you go to one metric, you update it, click send or update, and it goes out to 10,000 people. So you're not trying to track, oh, sales revenue has changed. Go out to the portal and find the 10 reports that have it in it. You don't go through that anymore.
Hmm.
You go to one place, you can search for it, find it, make the change. Everybody's got it. So it's great for governance. So in theory, using our solution here, you're almost putting them about an hour, maybe 2 hours back into people's pockets a week because they're not finding reports and interpreting reports and wondering if it has the latest data. And then, from an IT perspective, it's in one area for them to administer, and then they're not spending time writing reports. They instrument their business logic into a KPI, which is totally important.
Right.
But then they have this library of business logic in one place that everybody's working from. It's fantastic. So overall, they're not creating fancy reports. They're spending their time, less time, instrumenting a KPI or updating it. So the TCO on this sucker is awesome. Anyway,
What's
that's all I got. Do you have some questions?
just some simple things I think too, because the demonstration was really, I think, quite effective and very very clear and very much to the point. And I also like the fact that you're really taking advantage of how people are using these devices. Not only that they're looking at it, on the go, but the way they look at it on the go is that they're not going to sit and do tons and tons of deep dive stuff. They want to just turn it on, find what they need, and get on with their lives, as it were. I
Yeah.
think that's
I have
that's the
I have a
goal.
really funny story for this. Because of my proximity, I'm in Redmond, Washington, just down the road from Microsoft. And
Mhm.
for many years, for 5 years, I would present BI on behalf of Microsoft at their executive briefing center here in the retail segment. So I would basically see the top 75 global retailers every year. I'd see their CIOs and their CEOs coming through. It's pretty neat experience. And I'd always kind of ask them the same question: what do you use your tablet for? As a decision maker of this large company. It's funny. Email, right?
Sure.
Calendar, right? And then Netflix and Flipboard. They use Flipboard a lot. That's it. And they use those tools, because it's instant. You turn it on, I can react real quickly, turn it off. And so that's why my solution is actually a great solution for a mobile device. This is my business. It's the heartbeat of what I do all day, 8, 9 hours a day, 5 days, 6 days a week. And so with these devices, even these guys can see that, I can turn it on, I can see what's important to me right now, and then react to it, and then get back to work. Sell more on toilet paper. I don't know. So it's a behavior thing. It's the way we work.
How long does it take to implement?
This website here, It's a
Sure.
good question. You just led right into it. So
Oh,
we have this site called Try Spotfire Metrics at TIBCO.com. This site allows you to try it literally, probably in 15, 30 minutes. If you can get your data into an Excel spreadsheet, you can get your data on a device fairly quick. If if you're going to use our enterprise software where you install it internal so you can connect to Oracle or SQL or Teradata,
mhm.
that'll take a little bit more time because you got to provision software and stuff like that. But literally, once you have that part set up, instrumenting a KPI can be a matter of minutes, and then deploying it out to somebody is matter of minutes. We had, before TIBCO acquired us, we had a cloud version of our solution that ran off of Excel. They're doing upgrades to it, for their cloud environment, so they have a limited version of it. I had dry cleaners using it. I had dentists using it. I had a farm implement company in Brazil using it because they ran their business, if you will, out of Excel. And they were trying to get data out to people, and they would email out Excel sheets and whatever. And so these administrators, I thought it was kind of fascinating. For the dentists, they had 4 offices. It was a partnership of 5 dentists. They had 4 offices, and the person that did all the accounting and bookkeeping was sick of mailing out reports to the individual dentist and asking them, answering questions. So they put their data in Excel, uploaded it onto the dentist's iPads, done.
Wow.
And the dentist had all their, their clinic operational metrics right there. So that's an administrator for a dentist office doing it.
Mhm.
And I think it took them a little over an hour because they had to get used to the format in Excel. It's very much like a KPI, targets and thresholds and variances.
Mhm.
And so using the cloud, this version here, you can get running, in under 30 minutes. If you do it on premise, it could take, half a day, because you got to provision a server and install software and set some security, but it's fairly fast.
That's that's terrific.
Yeah,
This is
we have a large home builder here in the U.S.,
mhm.
one of the biggest, and we figured we would have to help them implement it. So we shipped them software on Friday. We said, we'll call you on Monday and we'll schedule time. And we call them on Monday and they had it implemented and they sent out 10 metrics to 100 executives.
Wow.
We went, what? And you guys are home builders. You deal with 2x4s. And I love that. That's the way it should be, with data and these mobile devices. Turn it on, see it, keep going. So this site's neat. If you want to try it with some of your own data, just go to it. There's some Excel templates up there for different industries. You
Mhm.
can just download it and re-upload it, and then look on your iPad and see it.
Oh, terrific. And now I have a completely sideways kind of question, and it came out of something that you mentioned very early on, which was, the inspiration of using the Fitbit and all. Do you think that that it'll come to being able to implement this in the healthcare industry? Absolutely not on the not on the operations admin side, but the side that people are at the personal level very interested in, but also for diagnostics and other kinds of things. Is the day
Yes.
coming, or would you like the day to be
Oh yeah.
coming?
Yeah. Yeah. So I use Fitbit. I also have, I use there's also that Lose It app, right? Where you can track your food consumption, your activity levels, your business metrics, this blah, 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 blah. How do we bring that all together onto one device? So with Google buying Nest, right? Um, I went to myenergy.com and you can sign up and it pulls your energy stats. It's a Nest company. The last thing I want to do now is I believe in this. The more insight that you have into your usage, whether it's business or personal, the better you will be at managing it and maybe reducing your footprint. And so the last thing I want is, as I start to bring on some of these other devices, I don't want to bring up another 20 applications or apps on my phone to look at the inside of all the devices I have. And so that's the neat thing about our solution is actually you can wire up to a lot of different data
Hmm.
sources. So we are making some efforts, in our roadmap. We're making adjustments right now to be able to connect to more of these personalized devices or interfaces. They're
Mhm.
basically all web interfaces. And be able to allow you to connect to your Fitbit and bring that in. Why not? Why not have, my 7 business metrics that I care about right now, and then my overall activity level on my phone? Why not consolidate in all those metrics? That's kind of what is that? The quantify self
Yes.
thing.
Hmm.
Why not consume that in one app? That's geared towards insight, and that's where we're going with this device. We have a cool tile interface. We have some other performance interface. You can change the view from tile to other things. But yeah, we're working on creating other interesting displays. So you could, connect a Fitbit. You could connect a Nest and see the appropriate display for that device.
Interesting. Interesting. Got a lot of
Yeah,
possibilities out there.
yeah. Well, the way we architected the back end, we can support those different types of data connections.
Hmm.
Um, but I think the beauty of, being a part of TIBCO, because that I don't know how much you know about their infrastructure business, that big data pipe thing that they got back there.
Yeah.
They're the only company I personally know of that can handle those volumes of transactions. So if we can, start connecting that pipe to all these other wacky, devices that are coming, the Internet of Things,
Yes, yes, yes.
that's a big piece of plumbing.
It is. I was at the CES, and I spent some time in the Z-Wave Alliance area, which are
Mm-hmm.
all of these home control
Yeah.
devices, specifically because I was interested to see how much of that was being connected, monitored, turned into data, not just to quantify itself, but sort of the home or the environment also being able to churn out all of that data. Um,
Yeah, the data is important, and just showing the data doesn't mean anything.
right. Yes.
Oh, okay, that's, 10. But my ability to adjust the data, meaning, okay, I've been operating at 10 for months, right? But I want to get better at that. So if I can set a threshold to alert me that I'm overspending, or you know what I mean? It's the red, yellow, green of a KPI. You set those thresholds of when you're performing good, or alert me when I'm performing bad. That's in our tool. And so if you really want to change behavior, you're telling people that says, all right, you've been 10 for 1 year. If you can move it down to 8, I'm just like energy usage. If you can move it down to 8, you're going to save $100 a month, right? And so if you can allow them to set that threshold to alert you that you're exceeding your capacity, like your own personal budgets, right? You want to be aware that you shouldn't be spending anymore. And that's the neat thing about, having our solution very KPI oriented. As you build your library of metrics, you also have your logic in there for your thresholds and whatnot. So I think it changes a behavior. I think people hide behind the numbers today in a dashboard because it's just a bunch of gobbledygooks of charts and donut charts and grids and all that crap in there, but you can't touch it or feel it. I think our solution allows you to adjust the number and, alert you that you could be better than what you've been.
Do you think this kind of solution is going to put a scare on for the BI community doing dashboards and the
That's a great question. Dashboards won't go away, but
okay.
a solution like this will minimize the use of dashboards considerably. There's still a 3% chance somebody will want to go look at a dashboard. It's a low number. But you know what? It's better than nobody looking at the dashboard,
Certainly
because
true.
that's what's going on today. But with dashboards, we just publish them out there, and they're, essentially a point in time that nobody looks at. So I'd rather have something that's personal to me that I can adjust that allows me to get better.
Great. Well, I appreciate your time and for the
Mm-hmm.
walkthrough and for the opportunity to give me a chance to download and get to play with a little bit myself. And anything else that comes to mind as a closing thought, or
No,
said
I
a lot
think
of stuff.
I talked a lot.
Well, I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
it's a game changer, for me. I was excited, that we went the TIBCO route because of, Vivek's mission of, you know, real time data access, not waiting 7 days or 10 days later, for your data to refresh or something like that. TIBCO is a good fit for delivering that mission of real-time BI. And, this is a segment that really hasn't existed in the past. It kind of was there with scorecards, but there's a lot of latency built into it and hard to discover. And I think, the time is right. The devices are personal, allows you to turn it on, know what's going on.
Great, terrific. Well, thanks again for your
All
time,
right.
Patrick, and I look forward to hearing more from you in the future and see how this grows, and also getting a chance to play with it myself.
Great. Well, you have a great day.
Thanks a lot.